back to the Mental Health Hour on Love Bay Afrobeat Music and Talk Radio. I'm your host, Felicia Fishoff, registered psychotherapist and founder of Rooted in Resilience Psychotherapy and Wellness. Tonight's conversation comes at an important moment. The World Cup may be over, but for many people, the emotional impact hasn't ended with the final whistle. Tonight, we're talking about the World Cup through a mental health lens, race, identity, and belonging. Because while many experience joy, pride, celebration, and community, others were left carrying racial trauma, exhaustion, anger, grief, fear, and reminders that moments of belonging can also exist alongside moments of exclusion. Tonight, we're creating space for both. We'll explore how cultural pride and emotional pain can coexist, how racism and discrimination impact our mental health, and what healing can look like after we've witnessed, experienced, or carried these moments long after the tournament has ended. And tonight I'm joined by three incredible women whose expertise and lived experience will help us unpack this important conversation. Charlene Lex. Charlene is a registered psychotherapist, Christian life coach, and faith and mental health expert who supports individuals, couples, and organizations in emotional health, spiritual clarity, and purpose driven living. She is EMDR certified and integrates approaches including IFS, EFT, and attachment based therapy, bridging psychological insight with faith based principles. Natasha Pennycook. Natasha is a multi award winning registered psychotherapist, trauma informed leadership strategist, international speaker, and founder and clinical director of her psychotherapy and consulting practice. With more than 15 years of experience, she supports high performing professionals and organizations navigating trauma, burnout, leadership challenges, and racialized workplace experiences. Dr. Renee Raymond. Dr. Renee is a clinical and counseling psychologist and the founder and clinical director of Renew Counseling and Psychotherapy. She serves as the mental health and performance lead for Inter Toronto Football Club in the Canadian Premier League and provides psychological services to Olympic, national, varsity, and professional athletes, dancers, and other high performance professionals. Her work explores the intersection of identity, performance, resilience, belonging, and mental health, making her an invaluable voice in tonight's discussion. But before we continue, just a quick reminder that while we are mental health professionals, this show is for educational and community conversation purposes only. It is not a substitute for therapy, diagnosis, or crisis support. If tonight's conversation brings up difficult emotions or experiences for you, we encourage you to reach out to a licensed mental health professional or your local crisis supports if needed. And as we move into tonight's conversation, we want to hear from you. We know you're listening. So we have a few questions that I just want to throw out. Did the World Cup leave you feeling more connected or more disconnected? Did you experience moments of pride while also feeling hurt, exhausted, or triggered by what you witnessed? What are you still carrying today? Share your thoughts in the comments, send us a message, or call into the show at 437-778-3299. Again, that's 437-778-3299. This is a conversation that belongs to all of us. All right, so let's get into it. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, so good to see you. Oh my goodness, you're looking so lovely as usual.
This is
Likewise.
why we look the best.
Thank you.
Best and
We're
brightest.
all we're all looking a little more sun kissed than we did in June. Well, I'm not looking forward to the months to come, so I'm trying to enjoy the warmth while I can. And so, as usual, I love to start off our episode by asking, why does the Love Bay family need to be talking about tonight's topic tonight, the World Cup through a mental health lens, race, identity, and belonging?
Mhm.
It's a good question. I think that when Natasha, you were the one who actually said this could be a good topic to actually like tackle.
Yeah.
When she did, I thought, you know what, it's timely, it's helpful, I think, to help people to unpack some of the things that they're actually maybe feeling or thinking about the World Cup. There was so much fun. We had like rooting for teams, and when your team got like thrown out, you're like, okay, got to choose a new team, right? And getting in there, laughing, being a part of it, like being a part of community, sitting with family, with friends, watching all of the different like games that you could. But there's all of this other stuff that was underlying that I think it's so important to talk about. So I'm glad that we're able to actually do that today.
Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I can jump in. I think it's really important because as we're looking at a lot of these players, and these players are playing on in our city, Toronto and Vancouver, it's really sometimes not a thing that you think about of like what's involved to get you there. Like you're going to be on the
Mhm.
biggest stage in the world. All eyes are on you from not just your family, but those in all different parts of the world, and you know that this is showtime for you, and there's a lot of different
Mhm.
emotions and thoughts that go through one's head when that's happening. And then there's also for us the fans who are watching, and uh, different histories with different countries and different experiences. It can really bring out a lot of different emotions and thoughts and feelings for different fans, so I think it's applicable to everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think I resonate with what both of you are saying. I know that, I'm always the sports bandwagoner, so I'm always trying to jump on, say, all right, who's playing? And I don't know if it's because I'm in just a different stage of life now, but I found that with this game, like, I was really thinking about, like, colonial history. And so even as I was cheering for different teams at particular times, I felt conflicted. I really did. And so it was a very interesting experience.
Yeah, I do think this is a timely conversation, and I'm glad that, I brought it up and everyone was open to talking about it because it's so timely,
Yes.
but because it's a topic that has impacted the world, right? All at the
Yes.
same time. We've been watching, we've been witnessing, our children have been like all excited and engaged in it. And, you know, the realities of what has been happening on the field. It's important that we do talk about that so that we're not just bypassing, because there is such a colonial history of the game, but also in the teams, right? You have things that have been said online about certain teams and players on certain teams, while at the same time, it's recognizing that almost all the teams had a colonial history. So we do have to talk about that. And part of the colonial history goes back and ties back into the racism that was blatant on the field that players spoke about after. So it is a timely conversation. I'm glad we're here unpacking it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's so interesting because, I think tonight we can talk about two sides. What is it like for athletes to experience racism in sport? And then I think on the other hand as well, like as those that are watching, that are cheering the teams on, like how is this impacting us? What is being triggered and what is coming up for us as we're processing what we're seeing online, or as we're seeing things in the game, and we're feeling all of the emotions, like it comes from somewhere.
Mhm.
The thought that's going through my mind right now is the idea of 110%, right? We're told that we have to work 110% or more, right? And what I saw were athletes who have been working so hard since they're children to get to this point, right? They've put so much blood, sweat, tears, injuries into this, and they finally get to this place where they're playing on this kind of like a field, right? Where like millions of people worldwide are watching them. And even the fact that like they're playing at their best, at their highest, it doesn't protect them or shield them from the criticism, from the put downs, right? It's the world we live in is hard. It's hard. And I think that's what I'm actually just kind of like thinking and feeling. Because even as I'm sharing it, that's I'm feeling it in my own body. That whole idea of you work 110%. They tell you work 110%. And even when you arrive, you could be dragged down by a simple comment.
Yeah. And even in being a part of different teams or seeing these different teams compete, I one thing I really noticed was that um, some people who maybe were born and raised in the country that they were playing for, there's some people that they're able to play because of eligibility through their parents or through lineage, but there were people that were born and raised. That country is all they've ever known, and objectively, someone is saying, "Hey, why are there so many of blank people from blank background or this skin color on this team?" Sort of disqualifying their right to be on that team, right to represent that country, um, whether they know the history of that player being on that team or not, but just the automatic assumption that like you don't belong, and what that might do for someone who is proud to represent their country on this stage, and they have to uh, be able to navigate that and still go out there and perform. And even with that, where some athletes, distractions are not uncommon. Hearing all sorts of things from the media, from viewers is not uncommon. But to also imagine when, as you mentioned, Charlene, like you're at the height of like your career and you're doing this thing and you've worked from when you were a kid to do this, and even then, hey, what are you doing on this team? Why does this team look like this? It's really jarring to watch and to just kind of feel that on behalf of the players.
I always love to get myself in trouble, but I'm gonna say what I want to say because it feels like there's such an ignorance even in terms of the fact that we are spread out all over the globe, the diaspora, the history, we are spread out everywhere. So even the fact that that was a shocker makes me scratch my head because I'm like, do we really not know history and the impact and the fact that many of us through slavery, colonialism, plus, and just because we're awesome and we travel all over the globe, that a lot of the countries that criticize us actually were built on our backs. And I just feel like, Miss Amiago get myself in trouble, but it's the truth. It was built on our backs. It was built on our parents' backs and our ancestors' backs. So when people are conflicted with the fact that there's so many of us represented on different teams, it's very baffling for me. Sorry, I'm done. All right, I'm done now.
And it does go back, right? As Renee, you were saying, and Felicia, it goes back to that belonging with this piece of here I am at the best on this team representing for the world to see, and I still don't belong. And I'm still told that I don't belong, that I shouldn't be here at the best after I've worked the 120% and still, right? What that does to someone's psyche, what that does to that person's ability to play and to be present. And I know a lot of the players who, they're accustomed to hearing the different things, but they have to work really hard, not only to be there to show up, but really hard to be able to show up and block all of that out. And if they don't, then other things are said. right? That they didn't perform, and why are they even there, and all of that. So it's like it's this terrible racist catch-22.
Absolutely. You know, Natasha, I was watching one of I watched both the videos he had put in our group chat, and one of them was talking about just the many people would just say, just move on. Why don't you just get over it? Or if someone gets a racial slur thrown at them while they're playing, they should just let it roll off their backs. But what people don't understand is that we still have a survival response, and that is perceived as danger in our body. Right. And so it does something to us psychologically, physically, emotionally. So I was just like, I don't know how I can like this post 1,000 times. I wish I could. I wish I had 1,000 accounts to like that post. But I was like, yes, exactly. That racial battle fatigue, that, you know, that survival instinct that keeps us on edge. It is a thing. Like, we're human. And I think that, you know, when people are like, just let it roll off your back, don't let it impact you. I understand what the sentiment is, but at the same time, I think there's still an aspect that we are not human, and it removes the humanity from us that we should not feel. But we are human, and we do feel, and we do get impacted. So yes, we be the bigger person, and we just keep moving, but it still impacts us.
Of course it impacts. And you know, it's appreciated what, as you were saying, Felicia, what the sentiment is of the individuals who say, let it roll off your back. But it's also the individuals who may be saying that, who have not had to deal with the decades and the lineage of that hurt and that harm. And as we know, the decades and the lineage and the ingrained DNA of that harm, it cannot roll off, because there's nothing to roll off. There's craters that it gets stuck in. And that's what happens to the body, right? You hear people talk about microaggressions, and I pause because I hate that word. It's actually a macro piece that happens, right? It's not the small piece. And we have to really, you know, decolonize the language that we're using, because the language micro, that small little bit, that it's not a big thing, let it roll off the back, it's centering whiteness, and it's centering the lens where the DNA and the racial harm, the racial trauma over the years and decades and the ancestors, it's not part of that. So we really have to start using the language of, it's a macro impact, and it cannot roll off of individuals back when it's been happening constantly and over and over.
Especially when people are witnessing this, like even where many of the athletes have learned to let it slide or to ignore it or to block it out, it still has also this macro impact on the viewers. I think about the kids that are watching, that are coming up, and they are seeing, like, I could be playing for my country, and again, some of the worst things that are said are not even said from outside. It's from inside. And what does that mean if I represent this place that I call home? And so, yeah, sometimes when we're thinking about that impact, and why I think it's not something we can brush off, is because there's a 10-year-old, there's a 5-year-old, there's someone who's about to think about signing to go pro and play in Europe, in another country, in Africa. And depending on where they go, they're going to have a different experience. And sometimes that experience and the choices that are made, the doors are closed to them, or not a good option, because they have learned, this is not a safe space for me. Some parents may not want their kids to play in certain sports. I mean, if we think about other pro sports where there have been some very blatant exclusionary comments and behaviors over the years, you could have a child that really, you know, would be great and would really thrive. And it's just like, it's emotionally not safe. It could be physically unsafe for them to engage. So we're learning a lot as not just how the players take this, but as individuals, as viewers, as coaches, as friends, as the parents watching your child playing on this world stage and hearing these things have a lasting impact on everyone.
Absolutely. And in the chat, we have racial identity came into play with the Argentinian team. So disturbing. Danny from Toronto. Thank you so much for weighing in, Danny. Yes, I've definitely heard a lot about and also witnessed a lot that happened with Argentina and the Argentinian fans. Especially, I've heard of like bananas being thrown on the field, or, and so. Yes, definitely. Which I think, I don't know. You guys would have to fact check this, but I heard that there was actually like a petition to not let them play in the next FIFA. That could be not true, so fact check it. But I could have swear I see that the other day. But if it is true, I think that also shows where we are as a society, that we're not wanting to stand for certain things because we are now becoming a lot more aware of what is happening, but it's still hard. It's still hard to witness.
I would say the vicarious trauma that happened didn't just happen to the people sitting behind the screen and watching, right? It also happened to the fans who paid their good money to sit in the stands, right? Like I'm thinking about like influencers like I Show Speed, who's literally just trying to stream the game, and Argentinian fans are then being racist towards him. And so you can't even go and like enjoy the game and have fun and have there be camaraderie without having to worry about that element of like racial like macro aggressions coming at you. So if you're the person in the stand, there's a heaviness to it, there's a worry behind it. If you're the person behind the screen watching it, or online later on in social media where it's being disseminated over and over and over, you're also then getting that impact too. And so it's just hard, no matter how you look at it. As I said before, like this is just, it's traumatizing all around.
Absolutely. I never took the fans who paid into consideration, because I'm there thinking about what the $30 I pay with TSN. But you're right, because those tickets were not cheap, guys. I think I did look into it one day. I said, "Whoa, that's 2 months rent." Okay, no, I can't afford that, right? But and it's an investment when you go into, at least for us, folk, at least for me, let me speak to myself, that is an investment, right? To go to one of those games, right? And to
Yeah.
do your hotel, and then to experience or to witness that in the stands. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I even thought about the idea with him as because he did a number that he wrote in the closing ceremony. So what was it like for him? I was really wondering to have this experience where he's being like attacked in the stands while streaming, and then at the end of the World Cup, he's then literally like performing in front of all of these people. The highs and the lows that he must have experienced throughout the World Cup, right? I'm just wondering what kind of impact is that on his own nervous system too, and also watching the young people watching saying, I want to be a performer on the World Cup stage one day, right? And so it's not just the athletes, it's definitely 100% the athletes, but it's all of the other people were also impacted as they're watching these macroaggressions too.
Yeah.
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 Okay,
It
I just want to
speaks.
shout out. Oh, sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to just shout out Capo Verde, though. Virginia, if you're listening, big up yourself, because that game, I tell you, me and my son, my eldest, were just hugging. I said, I need to know this man's name. I searched him up. I was one of the million followers that added him that day. But I also saw, just in that game, there was so much represented, I think. Even though they lost by a hair, I think that there was just this fresh, I don't know, hope, excitement that came with that game. I don't know. Did you guys watch that one?
Watch them
Or
all.
Did you feel it too?
Yeah, because I think this is one of the beautiful things about the World Cup, or allowing different countries to have a chance and opening up to accept more countries, is that you get to see a lot of talent that people would not get exposed to, to be able to flourish. Like with
Yeah.
the CPL, the Canadian Premier League, for instance, one of the ideas was that, hey, Canadians need more of a platform in order to be able to compete at these levels. And so you find that when people are given the chance to shine and to be in front of different crowds, and in this case, it's also seeing a wonderful African country just like being able to shine and just like win the hearts of people. It's just like, yes, this is not a secret to a lot of the people from these places. But I think when the world gets to see, like, who is this team, like, who is this keeper that can do this and stand up with the best of them, that's where the other side of things, then the benefits, and where you see sometimes that regardless of race or background, people really can come together, and gives us hope.
Absolutely. Virginia, hey! Well done, well done. Sorry, Natasha, what were you saying, my dear?
No, but it's all of this, right? It is the two sides of that coin, where the representation, it's so vital and so important, because there's a shared blackness,
Yes.
right? From wherever we are in the world, we tend to gravitate to, like, oh, there's some other Black people here. Right? I feel welcomed, and I feel a part of, and I feel like I belong. So, the individuals, as Charlene, as you were speaking and alluding to, right, the individuals who have experienced the heart of it, whether they were fans in the stands or at home watching or playing on the field, there's the shared blackness where it's like, oh, I feel what's happening. And then the other side, there is the shared blackness of pride. It's like, oh my gosh, look at this team. Look. And the teams that were coming in and they were like dressed to the nine, right? The teams that were, yes, they looked good. You have the bags and they're just walking in like, yeah, I belong. I'm like, ooh, these guys look good. So it's all of that, right? That shared blackness brings out a pride, while at the same time, it brings out like a sadness, right? So it's recognizing that wherever we are throughout the world, there's a connection throughout the diaspora.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Someone mentioned, I have watched a compilation of fans smashing TV sets, which tells me that there may have been some traumatic moments for some fans. The question is, was the anger temporary? And that is from Randall, from Birmingham, UK. Thank you so much for tuning in, Randall. So what do you guys say to that?
I don't know that the anger is temporary. I think the anger has been accumulating, right? Like epigenetically, we've been angry even in the womb,
Yes.
right? And so it's like we were born into this, we live it on a daily basis. The anger can't be temporary. It just spikes every time we see it so blatantly. We can't ignore it. We can't just turn our gaze away from it. It's there, it's evident. And so is the anger temporary? I don't know. I don't think that it is. I think that we learn how to survive and have joy in spite of the anger, right? I was actually just talking to my son about this the other day, about joy in resistance, or joy as resistance. We can choose. We can choose to be resistant to all of the macro aggressions by choosing to find pockets and moments of joy. It's just like we were saying, Felicia, with the that goalkeeper, right, from Capo Verde. Like, he was amazing. His story is amazing. He was in, this influence, this ray of light that came into the game, right? And so many people actually learned more about the country because of him and because of how those players played. And so that right there is the resistance. That right there brought all of us joy. And it's as we're able to actually say, you know what, the hardness is here, but I'm going to choose community. I'm going to choose to celebrate when there's good things happening. I'm going to choose to, eat food with the people who look like me and listen to the music and cheer the team on. As we choose those things, that's how we actually undermine this system that's worldwide, that has been, set up and that's gone on for so many generations, that look for our downfall in a lot of ways. That's how we actually undermine that system, by choosing to resist through joy. They will not break us.
Mhm.
I also believe that, also thinking of just sports fans, sometimes that anger and the intensity of emotions, just in a second, you feel it, and it comes out. But I also wonder, just as you mentioned, like joy as resistance of one, maybe replace your TV because maybe you need to support those that you want to support and see more of. And maybe it's not going to be through just watching the World Cup, but it's, now I'm seeing a whole bunch of people saying, how can I watch these Chilean games now that Zena's like on this team, and I want to see these games, I want to support him. And thinking about like, how can we pour that joy into supporting those that we want to see flourish, and those that are deserving of our attention despite some of the terrible ways that the world might view them. And so I also encourage people, buy a new TV, stream it, find a way, let's support our guys, and let's see how can we really just continue to show the world that this, it may not be meaningful to you, but it's meaningful to us, and we want to see these players, and we're going to keep looking out for them. We're going to keep watching. We're going to keep supporting, even if you don't.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think anger is such a fascinating emotion. It's an emotion I really enjoy talking about, because historically, for men, anger has been the emotion that is allowed, that there's allowance, right?
Mhm.
And underneath that anger, there's so many emotions, whether it's sadness, disappointment, upset, frustration, stress, so on and so forth. So I think that, sports absolutely brings out a lot of emotions. And when you have the anger being displayed, and especially when you have a lot of people coming together, because there's groupthink, right? We all know about groupthink here, but for those listening, groupthink is like the majority of the group, how the group moves and thinks, that gets perpetuated to other people of the group, and then people follow suit in the group. So I'm wondering if, the smashing of the TVs and things like that, was it, the anger coming up, the anger that has been quote unquote allowed to show, and how the think of the group has impacted that. So I think these are some of the things that we want to also look at underneath the anger that's there, that's displayed. And, maybe it is going deep and wondering like, okay, they're smashing the TVs and all of that, but like, what else is there? What other emotions are you trying to show? Are you upset? And is it really a great way to show you're upset by smashing the TVs? Because, as Renee is saying, you're going to have to go get another TV anyways to watch the rest of the game. So was it actually the best thing to do? So it's really fascinating how the emotions were displayed throughout the World Cup and the reasonings behind them.
Absolutely. You're listening to the Mental Health Hour on Love Bay Afrobeat Music and Talk Radio. If you're enjoying tonight's conversation, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Every share helps these conversations reach someone who may need to hear them. Download the Love Bay Radio app on Apple or Google Play and stream us anytime. Visit lovebayradio.live, that's LUVBAY radio.live, to listen, support the station, and donate so we can continue bringing these important conversations to our community. And don't forget, you can join us live by calling 437 778 3299. That's 437-778-3299, or type in the chat. We're here serving you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And yes, ladies, well said about, anger, because I think anger gets a really bad rap. And really, any emotion is just information. It's trying to tell us something, right? And I think really there's a deep core pain that comes up for us, and then it is expressed through these different channels of emotions, right? What are some other emotions that you think that a lot of people watching, or those on the field, were experiencing or are continuing to experience now after the cup is over?
Mhm.
Say disappointment in some ways if we're talking about the tougher emotions.
Mm.
And that may be more to do with like what is being done to protect them, to keep them safe, to keep them engaged while they go and do their jobs. Like players were called out if they put their hand in front of their mouth, and there were certain things that were happening on the pitch that they had to have managed, and they had to be mindful of in order to be able to perform. But when it also comes to like what is the larger organization doing to manage things? And again, some of these things are really challenging. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of fans, hundreds and thousands of people. You don't know what people are going to do. But I think that, seeing some of the conversations about either how swiftly people were removed or certain issues were talked about, those are some of the emotions that often can come up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's such a great point, right? Like, yeah, the disappointment, and then what's the action behind the disappointment? What are some of the policies and procedures that are now going to be in place for future World Cups, right? I know, Felicia, you were questioning whether a certain team is going to be barred and banned from the next one. How are these policies going to actually show up to protect the players and to protect the fan? But I think most importantly, to protect a brand, right? World Cup is a brand. Let's just put that out there seriously.
For
And
real.
then, right. And then when these things are happening, it gives the brand a really bad name. And it's going to make people not want to go spend, a month's worth or 2 months worth of their rent or their mortgage to go to the game. So we really have to be mindful that, if policies are going to be put in place, it has to be done to preserve the game. And yes, there are going to be some people who are like, no, we don't care about that. There's always those people. But the reality is the global majority looks like you and I, and they're watching the game, and they're, those are some of the star players, whether it is that they were born and raised in a country or their ancestors are from different countries and they've immigrated, or they migration due to colonization, right? So you have to definitely understand the history. But I mean, if things are going to move forward and progress, things are going to have to change, and the officials are going to have to make those tough calls to really protect the players and protect the image of the game.
I agree with you that it's a brand. I don't know that they're still going to do anything significant, right? Like taking out a country, I don't know that they will, right? And that's just me maybe being just a little bit like pessimistic about what comes at the end of all of this, right? What comes out of it. I'm thinking about like the fact that they put this thing into play this time around where you're supposed to go like this, like X with your hands, if there is any kind of racism. And I saw a ref do that, and he got a red card. And so, help me to understand that, right? And again, I don't have answers here around this. I just have so many questions about like an organization who they're seeing these things happening. They should anticipate these things are going to happen. How swiftly in the moment are you willing to actually do something about it, right? And maybe it's because I also do couples counseling, and so it's like you can have the person in a couple who says things like, no, I'm going to do it, right? Next time I get it, I understand, I'm gonna do it. And then next time comes and then they still don't do it. Right. And they're like, oh right. Yes. Okay. I get it, I'm gonna do it. And then the next time comes and they don't do it. I wonder, and again, I don't have any answers. I'm literally just like, I'm just musing here at this point. Right? How much of this is just kick the can down the road, right? Pay lip service right now, but just keep kicking the can down the road because at the end of the day, we just want to be able to actually like put on this show and make money at it. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
fair
I think
because
about-
we've
yeah.
seen the tick boxes, right? Yeah. Go ahead, Renee.
No, by all means, I was going to just mention that makes me think about the Olympics and years back when there were a lot of controversy about hosting in or having South Africa participate because of apartheid and the long history there, and this has me think about what is the responsibility of organizations such as FIFA, but then also are we looking at just larger societal things? Because even again outside of the stadiums, a lot of things were happening. Fans were in coffee shops, they were on the streets. Politicians were weighing in and saying things on the news. Like it does go well and far beyond what also is happening just on the pitch and within the stadiums, but also to the larger society. And it just has me think of what is the responsibility of these organizations, these brands that do want to host these international competitions, because racism isn't going to go away, the discrimination is not going to go away, and as we know that is true, we still also have to think about how can we improve the quality for those who are playing and for those who are paying spectators, people who are at home, and also setting the example for the world of what is tolerated within these sports. And so this is, again, it's a large issue of, it's easy, I think, for like when we're watching this to say FIFA, but also the government, the local governments, the police forces that are enforcing things, to really also be accountable, to think of how are they contributing to the experience of all, and trying to manage these acts of discrimination when they come up. Big topic.
Who is responsible? That's the thing in my mind, because I'm like how do we hold them accountable? Like, I just want to sign. Where's my petition? I want to sign it. Tell me where to sign, because I think as a society, like, how do we not stay silent in a way that we are holding them accountable, right? How do we hold our governments accountable? That's the question that comes to mind. Who is responsible for change?
My answer to that is just one word, right? It's systemic, and we know that, and we've seen it.
Yeah.
And when is the change? Yeah, when is the change going to happen?
I think that sigh said it all.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
completely.
I think that's what a lot of us are feeling. I said it at the very top. I'm literally feeling it in my body, right? A lot of us are feeling that, right? Even our friend from like the UK who's like talking about anger, where a lot of us are feeling that, right? How do we catch a break here? Right?
Yeah.
You asked before, Felicia, about like what emotions. I wonder coming out of these games, yes, there is elation, there is all of this stuff. I wonder how coming out of these games, how many people are experiencing anxiety because of it,
Yes.
right? I think fear and anxiety, I wonder how much of that is on the rise at the end of something like this, right?
Like that emotional overwhelm.
Yeah, right. I don't have numbers. I can't tell you. There's no studies that have been done in the last like few weeks, right? But I do wonder about that. right?
Yeah.
And that people are just kind of like, it's rolling into the rest of their lives, but they're not even noticing it, right?
Mm.
Like this was PTSD for so many people, right?
Yeah.
This like for the players, but also for the vicarious trauma from other people watching. This was PTSD. This was like hypervigilance. Is this a safe space? Right? I'm watching at the pub with my friends, but is this a safe space for me?
Hmm.
Right? It's all of the intrusive thoughts as you're kind of replaying some of the things that happened. It's the fact that you can't escape it because every time you go on social media, there's so many people, like influencers, commenting on it, but it's also in the comment sections, and people can be very cruel.
Yes, absolutely.
Again, I do wonder coming out of this, yes, we see there's lots that was good about it, but I wonder about the heightened feelings of anxiety.
Hmm. And even on the flip, the numbness, because I feel like right now, obviously, not just right now, just in general, like there's just a lot going on with, um, Nolan Wells and all, like, it's just a lot,
Mm,
right? I know for me, it's just a numbness because I'm just like, it just feels like a blanket of just, why? Martin Luther King must be rolling over in his grave. Bless his heart. Rest in peace. But it's just a blanket of just disappointment and numbness. So I think it could be like both ends, that hyperarousal, that and
mhm,
that hypoarousal, and one, that fight flight or that freeze fawn response
mhm,
where we're just kind of like, what?
mhm.
Why? Yeah.
Right? It's basically like people stuck in a state of freeze, right? Like on the one hand, we still have to go and do all the things that we have to do. On the other hand, it's also like this pushing back of I don't have it in me, right? I don't have it in me. I'm done. I'm just numbing out. I'm just like scrolling. I'm just trying to get through the day. So I think that a lot of people might be feeling the whole plethora of all of those emotions, right?
Mhm.
So how do we, like, what can we say about handling that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And even with that numbness, that being people being desensitized to it, there are people of all walks of life who are like, yeah, it's the world we live in, and that could very well be their coping strategy for navigating these things, but also, um, it could also be scary in some ways too that we sort of accept or make space for things of this nature, discrimination of this nature, and these types of comments. So, um, like you hear a lot of times people are like, I just want to watch the sports. I don't want to have to think about that. And some people learn very much not to pay attention to it, even where it's still happening. And just
Mm.
even thinking about like over time, what does that do if we say like, hey, this is not a space where we even regard this thing, of how that normalizing or desensitization to it can also
Mm.
help to perpetuate these acts still just kind of being brushed aside when they happen.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. I think on a personal level for me, it goes back to the safety, wanting to make sure that, especially that I'm teaching my child what safety is and how to navigate safety and what that safety looks like, right? And it's unfortunate that these conversations have to be had, but it's also very protective, right? So as opposed to the freezing, it's the how do you act, how do you understand what safety means, how do you understand how to keep self safe in all various situations, because the response and the action in different situations on how to keep self safe looks different, right? It
Absolutely.
looks very different. So it's
Yeah.
recognizing that while we're seeing all of this happen on the world stage, at the same time as, you know, Felicia, you mentioned of Nolan Wells, right? You see all of these things happening simultaneously, going back to the same thing, going back to racism, right? So it goes back to the importance of safety and how we, as the older generation, how we're teaching safety to the younger generation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even just, what you were talking about, Renee, about Dr. Renee, about, the desensitization, like, is that a fawn response, right? If I can play dead and not feel it, I'm protecting myself from the pain. But it is still, again, that survival instinct, that survival response that I don't want to feel that core pain. If we're talking about IFS, that pain of the exile, right? I don't want to feel it. So I'm going to numb the crap out of it, or I'm going to just not feel it, not acknowledge it, because it's easier to deal with or not deal with. We have a comment. For the first time, the upside was that a lot of players from the Black communities around the globe felt senses of belonging to the sport, which has seen less of countries with Black populations. Mohammed from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you so much for weighing in, Mohammed.
Yeah, agreed.
100%.
Yeah, that representation again, right? Like being able to see ourselves represented on a world stage and looking good doing it and standing out doing it and having the rest of the world cheer for those countries and players. Yeah, I think absolutely.
Absolutely.
And many people, they marched, they fought for these rights, right? For us to actually like not have to be segregated within sports. This
Yes.
is huge, right? Looking at all of these teams and the representation of Black excellence within all of these different teams from around the world, it's huge, right? And so being able to just hold space for that in itself, to say from like, 50 years ago, look at the shift. And let's also look and see the changes that still need to be made.
Mm-hmm. And I think that this highlights the dichotomy that you could feel a sense of pride, but also feel the heaviness of emotion. Like both can very much exist. And I think both did. So it's like very complex and it's very layered, which just shows this as humans and as humanity, like we're just complex beings, you know?
Yeah, seeing a bunch of kids. I remember I just like, I can't remember what match it was after, but I heard some kids talking, and one of them said like, I didn't know there's so many Black people in the Netherlands. I was like, what are you, racist? Like, of course there's lots of, like, it was just like they were kind of like schooling each other, and it was just having this conversation. And I heard the kid like just drop a little bit of history, and I'm just like, oh, okay. So even just remembering too, like the younger generation is also experiencing this whole thing in their own ways too, and some things that maybe we are very familiar with when it comes to these conversations and presentations. For sure, for some it's going to be a lot of the same, but for many kids it's different. Many kids, they're wearing a Mbappe shirt, and it's like, I don't care what color he is, I just think he's like the greatest player in the world. And also allowing and holding space for these changes, as you mentioned, Felicia, is really important, because I think we have to have that in terms of hope. We have to have that in terms of joy, and we have to see that ability for maybe not everything to change, but where there can be shifts and where there can be growth, for us to feel empowered to still keep having like these conversations and talking about it. This is where we start, even for us tonight, moving the needle of like, these are things that we can't ignore in our society and are important to consider when it comes to embracing our collective humanity. And yeah, it's just nice to see that reflected back, however the conversation went with the kiddos around me.
These kids, they're talking about some deep things these days, you know. I remember back in the day, I was there talking in a fan, going, I wasn't. Did you guys used to do that too? You know,
Yes.
speaking to the fan, I am your father, you know. You know, oh man, I just called myself out again. Oh boy, yes. I haven't done that for many years, by the way, just saying. But, you know. But yeah, you know, our kids, I love that you talked about the, you know, the generation coming up, right? Because, you know, they are now experiencing the world from their own lens. And so I really do appreciate that point of view, Dr. Renee. So for listeners that are like, okay, yes, I am holding um, the complexity of emotions. There were these beautiful moments of like, Virginia, like myself, you know, me and my son hugging. We had these beautiful moments. But then we're also holding the depth of emotion, whether it's the anxiety that, you know, Charlene was talking about, or the numbness that you were also talking about. What do we do with these emotions, right? Because we know that we shouldn't suppress them, because if we suppress them, they're going to pop up somewhere else, right? And I think that goes back to even Randall's comment, you know, about is anger temporary, right? It's brewing, it's bubbling. We can't just suppress it or it's going to pop up, right? So what do we do with these emotions that we may be wrestling with and grappling with right now?
We're showing you. We're showing all of the listeners exactly what you do with it. You get people who are safe, people that you could be real with, people who are allies, people who are experiencing similar things, and you talk about it. It's in the processing of the trauma that helps it to actually move through your body a lot more, right?
Mm,
It's being able to look someone in the eye and actually say, did you see this too? Did you witness this too? And to have them go, yeah, and that sucked, right?
mm,
And so when you're feeling these feelings come up, it's not about suppressing and pushing it down because it's going to come out sideways and you're not going to like it. It's about being able to then really tap into your community in moments like that. And that's actually what I found myself doing. After a lot of these games, I found myself literally just sitting down and like unpacking because my son watched every game practically, right? Just unpacking. So, what did you notice? What did you see? What did you hear? How was that for you? What came up for you as you were listening, right? All of those, the giving people the opportunity to unpack and to talk about it, it's it's therapeutic and it doesn't
mm,
cost it.
mm. Well said, girl. Well said.
Yeah. And adding to that is, I think, being very selective in being, or intentional, maybe that's a better word, intentional about giving ourselves those spaces to feel those emotions and express and find community. But even looking at the comment that popped up about like the media's role in all of this, being mindful of
Yes.
what we're taking in, whose voices are we listening to. You know, you just open up social media and then boom, 50 million different comments and thoughts, and some of those ones trying to tell us how we should think and feel about things. And so sometimes it's also to be mindful of, even unintentionally, like what are we taking in? When are we taking in that information? Are we in a good place to process those emotions that we're feeling? You know, is it with people, as you mentioned, Charlene, like community? Like, is it finding people that you can express and unpack with? And sometimes when the conversations come up, it's not with the people that we can do that with safely, or it's not at the right time for us. 10 minutes before bedtime may not be the best time for some of us. And so, you know, even with the media, they're trying to sell a perspective. So you read, so you pay attention. And then sometimes it is also there to inform and to educate, but we also have to be mindful of when that makes sense for us at times.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely limiting how much we're feeding ourselves at one time.
Yeah, especially from the media. And, to piggyback off there, um, be aware of whose media that you're listening to, right?
Mm,
Because
mm,
every media has an objective, it also has a lens. So they're not created equally. They might have intention behind it, a goal behind it, but whose perspective are you listening to? Yeah, be aware of that.
Okay, I have a story, and of course, I probably get myself in trouble again, but so be it. I remember many years ago remember when there was the huge Haiti earthquake. That was very devastating. And I was watching a particular channel that shall not be named because, and there was one of the news people who said, we have our doctors here training their doctors how to change bandages. And I almost broke my TV. I almost broke my TV. I said, so you're trying to tell me that Haiti has no doctors that can change a bandage? I'm pretty sure that they're training us, right? And I could not. I turned off the TV. Good thing I kept my anger under control, but I wanted to throw my remote at the TV,
Mhm.
right? And I love that you talked about that, Natasha. We have to know what we're listening to because
Yes.
otherwise we're gonna start smashing our TV, and we don't have money for that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's true, right? Because a certain perspective has been fed constantly and over and over and over. So we have to be more mindful, especially that we're in a day and age that it's easier to access various viewpoints, right? Most people get their news not from the news, but from social media, from reels, from scrolling, right? So just
Mm,
be mindful and intentional, as my colleagues were saying, around what you are observing and what you're allowing in.
mhm, mhm. And I think with that too, like beginning to actually just tap in and pay attention to, our own emotions. Like notice when you are becoming triggered. You know, when we're having particular emotions come up more often, like pay attention to the cues that your body is trying to give you. We say this often on our show, right? Our body gives us receipts, and sometimes we can ignore what is happening and how we're feeling, but it's information. Use it as information. So begin to actually pay attention, right? Write it down. See a therapist. We're not that scary. See, all of us were so nice. We're not gonna bite. You have Dr. Renee, she's amazing. You have Charlene, she's amazing. You have Natasha, and you have the crazy one over here. I'm not. Hey, my sister says to stop saying I'm crazy, but I'm crazy, but I'm effective. Okay, and there's so many great therapists out there, not just us, right? If you're having difficult emotions and you need a safe space that you're looking in your community, and you might need someone that can hold some deeper stuff, some things that are coming up, go see one of us, man. See somebody, because it goes deep. The intergenerational trauma can run deep, right? And as we were talking about the macroaggressions, right? I agree with you, Natasha. The macroaggressions on a daily, it is real. Racial trauma is real. You know?
Yes, it is.
Yay, my sister's in the chat. She said, right? Right, right. Pick up yourself, sis. Yes, my sister. I'm the baby of my family, so I just blushed a little bit, guys. Yes. So, yes, please pay attention to what's going on the inside. All right. So, to the panel, if you could drop one last gem with the Love Bay family tonight, what would you say?
I think you still have the responsibility, despite what the media might say, what the world might say, what your sometimes people from your own country might say, that you still have the responsibility of reflecting on and choosing what your identity means to you, what values you want to represent, in spite of someone who's trying to limit you to your race, to your skin color, your ethnicity, your linguistic background. You still have the power to decide if that defines you or not. And so, whether it's sports, whether it's athletes, whether it's the spectators, you have the right to resist. You also have the right to flourish and find joy. Um, and sports is for everyone. No one could ever take that away from you.
Yeah. I would say the belonging piece. You can choose where you belong, right? Don't allow someone else to dictate where you are meant to be. And yeah, you get to choose. I think that's such a huge piece, that we live in a world that wants to tell you and dictate where you should be, who you should be, how you should stand, walk and look and talk and all that. But you get to choose. You ultimately do get to choose, and don't let anyone take that away from you either.
Mhm.
Mhm. I think that what I would say to the people listening is to just kind of have a mantra in your mind that we're not going to stop. We're not going to
Mm.
stop being excellent. We're not going to stop taking up space. We're not going to
Mhm.
stop going into all of these different avenues of life and doing well. We're not going to stop. So the races can be races, right? They could do and say all that they want, but it's not going to stop us from being excellent. That's part of our birthright.
Amen.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Eh, So, as we come to the end of tonight's conversation, I want to leave you with this. Two things can be true at the same time. You can feel pride and still carry pain. You can celebrate your culture while grieving the racism, exclusion, or trauma that surfaced along the way. Healing doesn't require us to choose one experience over the other. It invites us to make space for all of it. Thank you to our incredible panel, Charlene, Natasha, and Dr. Renee, for sharing your wisdom, compassion, and insight tonight. And thank you to our Love Bay family for showing up with openness, vulnerability, and courage. We saw you in the chat. We're so proud of you, Love Bay. Yes. So, next week, we're joined by Karen Fleming, a registered nurse, for a powerful conversation titled Living with Sickle Cell Disease: What Often Goes Unspoken. Together, we'll explore the emotional, psychological, and systemic realities of living with sickle cell disease, including the impact of chronic pain, stigma, racism within healthcare, advocacy, resilience, and the mental health challenges that are too often overlooked. Karen brings more than 2 decades of experience in pediatric hematology and health equity advocacy, and this promises to be an eye opening conversation you don't want to miss. So until then, Love Bay, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember, your healing matters, your story matters, your voice matters, and you never have to carry it alone. Good night, Love Bay. Peace out.